All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. The super sad ending to the band, The Outfield. Tony Lewis passing away last year. Tony Lewis was the lead vocalist for The Outfield. John Spinks passed away, I want to say back in 2014. Lead guitar player and also a vocalist in the group. Alan Jackman, I believe, is the only surviving original member of the Outfield. And it's just tragic because the media, the music based media, and also the industry itself have basically focus tested the Outfield down to one song called Your Love. Rolling Stone, they had a headline, I remember. Well, Tony Lewis passes away. It's a shame. He's known for that one song from 1986. And I'm thinking, were you there in 1986? Because I was. The album Play Deep was all over the charts. It went triple platinum. Here's a little hint for you guys. An album that goes triple platinum is probably bigger than just one song. People are probably listening to the whole album. Now, there have been instances where one song can propel an album to go gold or possibly platinum. But typically, when you sell 1 million copies of something, you have to have a few other songs on there that people like. Say It Isn't So was actually the first single released, and it went over to rock stations. And when that thing came on, it was like a bolt of lightning. That song had one of the most interesting first lyrics I had ever heard, the first lyrics of the song, where they say, "You got me all screwed up." And they sang it with this real unique harmony. And Tony Lewis brought it home. Now, did the band decline in sales and popularity? Sure. But still, Since You've Been Gone was a fairly big song. Banging on My Heart. Voices of Babylon hit number 2 on the mainstream rock charts. Spent a couple of weeks there. And one of my favorite all-time songs by the Outfield is a tune called My Paradise, which got some airplay, mostly on rock stations, a little bit over on Top 40. But again, I always say if the band had a dedicated A&R team, that song was definitely a top 10, top 40 hit. It had all the hallmarks, all the makings, very singable, very fun and interesting song. The band would go over to MCA Records, and I used to call MCA the Musical Cemetery of America when I was in radio, because again, unless you're a Tom Petty or Tiffany, they really didn't care all that much about who they signed, and they didn't do a lot of promotion. When they signed somebody, they thought, hey, here's their album, go and play it. For me, the sad thing about the Outfield, obviously, Tony Lewis, who released this amazing album a couple of years ago called Into the Light, and the title track, I'm saying, this is vintage Outfield. This is stuff that should be on the radio. Now, I get it. Tony Lewis is not the Outfield. Maybe people have a branding problem. Maybe Tony didn't want to go through the legal battle of trying to be, the Outfield himself. Without John and without Alan, I'm thinking he had to be a solo artist at that point. He puts out some of the best material of his life, and what do I hear? Crickets. And I really vocalized my complaints when that album came out. I think I even got a like over on Twitter when I was over there. Martha Quinn was like, hey, yeah, this is great stuff. And, it's just disturbing that nobody seemed to really care. And that's been the state of music for quite some time, especially for folks that are getting up there in years, but they're still producing great material. This thing to me came out of nowhere by Tony Lewis, and it helped me remember how amazing the Outfield was. Even their final album for MCA, it's called Rock Eye. I would definitely give that a listen if you haven't listened to Rock Eye. There's a song on there called Closer to Me, which is just amazing. Closer to Me. It's just fantastic. But, you know, between the two guys dying in the group and um, one of the original members leaving in the early 90s, and then probably all brought on by the wonderful age of grunge in the 90s, which destroyed so many bands. You know, I could start a list of bands, I probably should, but you know, it's pretty much everybody who was doing melodic rock or pop music or stuff that you could sing to in the car. Most of those bands had trouble going from the 80s to the 90s. Little observation, a lot of bands that went from the 70s to the 80s, yes, they had to change their sound, but they made it. Bands like Heart, bands like Chicago, they were able to adapt to the new decade, add the keyboards, add the new recording equipment and so forth, and you know, continue on making great music. But the 90s stopped a lot of bands in their tracks, and obviously the Outfield was just another victim of the age. The band, I know, did release an album of leftover tracks that you can listen to. I think if you go to their website, you can get more information on that. I think it's called Final Innings. They like to, you know, obviously use that baseball analogy stuff to, you know, brand their material. But it's just a sad thing, a great band, and a band that deserves more respect. And Tony Lewis, a little bit kind of mysterious. Again, another one of these no cause of death listed, 62 years old. Just weird. 2020 was a very strange year, and 2021 continues that trend. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.